Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I want to talk to you about the first two contacts that you will enter into ACT. Contact number one and contact number two. And I just want to tell you a little bit about them. When you become an ACT user, the first contact you're going to enter is yourself. All of your contact information. And right now we're looking at my contact information on the screen. This contact is something called the My Record. Your record, my record. It's called the My Record. And if you ever want to get back to this contact, what you're going to do in the future is you're going to go up and click on Lookup. And then once you click on Lookup, the first option here is called the My Record. The My Record is you. Now, why is this contact here? This contact is here, and I do recommend you fill out all the information that's relevant to you. Your name, your company name, address, everything. Fill it all out. The reason this contact is so relevant is because as an ACT user, if you're an individual, it's not as important, but if you're in a company where there's multiple ACT users, this is going to record things you do. In other words, if you create an activity, it's going to put your name to it. The My Record is going to be connected. It's going to read that and connect that information to things in ACT. If you create some kind of history, now again, I know some of these things might not make sense to you as I'm talking about them today, but going forward, just know that if you schedule things, if you create a note, if you create an activity, things of that nature, it's going to have your name next to it. And why is that relevant? Well, let's say you're working on a contact in ACT, maybe a customer, and you put a note in. In a year from now, someone comes in and looks at that note and says, who wrote that? I have questions. Well, it's going to have your name next to it so they can come back to you and speak to you and say, what is that note about? So in other words, it tracks who does what. Now, the first contact, as I mentioned, is called the My Record. It's great for scheduling things that are personal. If you have a doctor's appointment, things of that nature, come back to your record and schedule it with yourself. Next, the second contact you're going to deal with is called contact number two. So what I'm going to show you right now is the second contact I did, and this contact's name is Jill Smith, the ABC company. So when you start up ACT, the first contact is yourself, the My Record, but the second contact is going to be whatever that second contact is you enter. In this case, I'm using Jill Smith as an example. Now, why is Jill Smith so relevant? Well, this is starting you off in ACT. It's getting you going in ACT. You can use ACT for a variety of things. In other words, you can use ACT as a glorified Rolodex where you just keep names, addresses, numbers, things of that nature. But having said that, when we look at a contact, what can we do with this one contact, this one particular contact? Well, we can call the contact because we have all the information. If we want to create a form letter, we could go up top, we could click on Write, we could go Letter, and we could create a letter right down here. So what it does is it will address it to Jill Smith automatically, but then it takes your information for the salutation. That's taking it from the My Record. So this is a quick example of one of the things you can do. You can write a letter. You could schedule a call to Jill Smith. You could email Jill Smith because you have Jill's email address. You could send some kind of form letter where you could do a mail merge. You could maybe have a customer thank you letter that you could send. You can add a note to Jill Smith. So if we come down here and click on the Note tab, we can add a note right here by clicking up here and adding a note. Now, I'm not going to do that right now, but we can add a note. I'm not going to save the changes, but we can add a note. We can create a history if we had a conversation. We can create all kinds of things, such as a sales opportunity. So the point I'm trying to make is once you get a contact in here, the sky's the limit. You can do so much with this contact. Again, you can use it just as a Rolodex, nothing more. But going forward, let's forget about contact number one and contact number two for a minute. Imagine it's contact number 30,000th. Well, what do you do with that one? How do you manage all those 30,000 contacts you have in your database? Well, that's where my training is going to kick in and really say, okay, we have all these contacts, we're in a business, how do we manage them all? How do we work with them? And that's what I'm going to teach you along the way. But as long as you understand the fundamentals of what a contact can be, what a contact can be used for, I think you're going to find your experience with ACT much better. So this is just a quick overview of a starting point of working with ACT. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much. You have a great day. Be well.